homeowner and home stewardship. So, yeah, I'm Brooke Tapp with One Roof Community Housing. I've been there for 2 years now, and my position is the Community Land Trust Stewardship Associate. So, like I said before, I'm a very defined position. My job is post-purchase stewardship. I work with the owners of our homes.
Yeah, so you guys already met me for like the second time, third time, but stewardship manager from City of Lake Land Trust. I've been there for 6 years. I did start off as a administrative coordinator, and then got promoted to the engagement coordinator. And I do exactly what Brooke does. You know, we deal with homeowners post-purchase. I'm a direct contact that phone calls come in, and I fill them out and redirect them to whoever it needs to go to, either the project development manager, the program manager, Stacy or Jeff, who is operations director, or executive director.
And then just to note that we both are land lease CLTs, so I don't know if people are deed restricted CLTs, but so we're going to be coming at it from that lens of we have land lease, and then we're also appraisal based, resale formula, not fixed fee. So that's some of where we're going to come from. These are the things that we're going to talk about. First, defining stewardship, why we do it, why it's important. It's important to identify your organization's stewardship philosophy in order to know how much stewardship you're going to do. And there's many ways to also assess, okay, how much stewardship can we do? How much do we want to do? And then, yeah, some outlines of what is considered under the stewardship topic. And so a lot of the resources are from Grounded Solutions, the national network, and they do have trainings coming up next month, so I want to put a plug in there. There's 3 sessions, so the CLT for home ownerships, the basics, the post-purchase stewardship, which the next 10 slides are going to be from their presentation. They do a great job with that, and then they also do an affordable pricing and resale formulas. So yeah, check their website out, look that up. There are 2 resources also on the Grounded Solutions. There is a stewardship standards for home ownership that you can find on there. It's a PDF you can download that was developed in 2015. And then there's this technical manual from 2011, and you'll see some in the kind of front end. Thanks to, you'll see some familiar names in there, like Jim's. He's on there. So those are also 2 resources for stewardship, as well as the bigger picture of what a community land trust is. So to get started, what is the definition of stewardship? And this is from that stewardship manual that is online. So affordable homeownership stewardship is a set of practices designed to help households maximize wealth while protecting the program and its community investment. So yeah, that's kind of just, so it's those 2 things. But there's the 4 goals. So first, promoting that success of the homeowner, since obviously they're going to be the person living in that home day in, day out, utilizing that subsidy that was put into that home, the repairs that were put into that home. So you really want to empower your homeowner to retain the home into the trust. Protecting the affordability, and so that's through like the resale formula, capital improvements, the any home improvement loans, refinancing equity, those type of things. And preserving the quality and condition of the homes. So that's also through empowering the homeowner that's actually in there. And then also through, any rehab, back and forth. And then preventing that loss of the public investment, especially to foreclosure. And so go to page 4 of the homeowner manual that is on your desk. So like I said, we developed this year thinking that it would be a great thing, and my first step was to contact Shane and say, hey, do you have one of these? And she said, yeah, we do. And so starting with her template, we did our branding on it, and then I just did an intro to stewardship So on page 4, you know, it repeats these 4 goals of stewardship, and then we're going to go into the land lease topics that are part of what we steward. And so, yeah, why we do it. Commitment to our funders. We're saying that we're putting, you know, houses into permanent affordability. You know, give us money so we can do that. And then we need to honor that commitment. We also are mission driven. Another, I mean, just very basic, why do we steward? It's to keep track of the documents, the land lease fee, any other agreements that you have. That is part of stewardship. And then also knowing that it works. Grounded Solutions, where this information is from, they did a national study, and the amount of homes in shared equity ownership models go to less foreclosure than on the conventional market. And so having this extra element for our homeowners, this stewardship, does work to preserve these homes and the lasting affordability. So that's why. And so then this is where you're going to, for your organization, figure out where you want to land. And so there's kind of 3 levels, and you can be anywhere on this spectrum. This, what I would say, is the base level. You definitely want to meet your legal and programmatic requirements. Funders are going to want to make sure that you're keeping track of all the documents, that you have signed leases with your homeowners. What's the agreement when you're doing resales, and pretty much kind of what that looks like in stewardship directly with your homeowner. You talk to them when you sell the home, and hopefully they talk to you when they're ready to sell the home. But that's kind of that base. You make sure you have all your signed documents, you retain those, you sell the house, and you talk to them when they're ready to sell their house. And then medium stewardship is, you know, mostly trying to talk to your homeowners about what's in the land lease. And so on page 4, 5, I don't know, 6, those 2 pages are kind of like the main points, at least in our land lease, which I imagine most of ours look the same. What you're talking to your homeowners about, their home maintenance responsibility, homeowners insurance requirements, the land lease fee, so making sure that they're paying their land lease fee, paying the taxes, the occupancy requirement, refinance requirement in the transfer of home. So those things, you're monitoring those. You can also throw in there, you know, letting people know what maintenance happens per season, maybe throwing an event in there or 2 just to gather people together. And then there's the one where I think this probably goes along with Shang and Noah's presentation earlier about homeowner engagement, kind of that bump up, like really engaging your homeowners, getting them active in advocacy. I know, Shang, with your homeowners, they show up to community events, they table events for the organization. And so kind of picking on there where you want to be. Maybe where you are. Do you want to go somewhere else on there? Are you trying to do, you know, this one and it's like, dang, it's not working. We actually really need to be here. So yeah, thinking about that.
Yeah, the City of Lake Smith Land Trust is, of course, it is 1, 2, and then 3. That's the top one is primarily one of the biggest goals that we definitely want to get to. And just getting our homeowners to really advocate for the City of Lake Smith Land Trust or Land Trust.
Yeah, and I think in 2 slides, or maybe it's the next one. Yeah, it might be the next one. So now, I guess I skipped ahead of myself. But here's extra examples of what those 3 philosophies would look like. I'll just give you a second to read it. A comment I can give, this providing referrals to your homeowners. can be a mixed bag, I think, depending on what it is. And so in my 2 years there, it's like learning this lesson of people, they'll contact you and ask you, well, like what plumber should we hire? Do you know a plumber? And you could be like, well, here's a few, and then if they have a bad experience with that plumber, sometimes it can come back to you. And so it is, yeah, some of that is very interesting. I try to always preface it with, I've never personally worked with this plumber, and, you know, I just Googled it, or something like that. So
it's good to just be transparent, mostly to get your homeowners to be proactive versus depending on the city of the land trust. And so whenever I'm speaking to them, they may think that they may get a discount, but you have to tell them that you don't get a discount. You can call them, get a quote from them, and determine who you want to work with. So always remind your homeowners they don't get a discount when they're asking for referrals.
So yeah, the next slide will be fleshing out another one of the philosophies. Go ahead and throw that next one. So yeah, this is where I would say one roof is on that spectrum, and Shane and I will both share examples of what we do. Where would other people see their organizations at currently with stewardship? And where would you want to be or think you need to be?
Between 1 and 2. I mean, both of the bottom two. Very basic.
Mm-hmm. And is that where the organization wants to be in the board?
It's where not where we want to be, no, but it's where we have the ability to be at the moment. We don't have the capacity to maintain constant relationships with our homeowners right now.
We're in the middle one. What we've found out over the years, our homeowners want to be homeowners. They don't necessarily want us interfering with their daily lives. They call us when they need something, which is great. That's what we ask them to do. And they come to events. Some of them come to our meetings and stuff, or the events when we do them. But they really want to be just a normal homeowner. But we're also scattered throughout the Hennepin County suburbs, so we've got such a different variety in communities. I think that makes a difference too. You know, you got somebody that's in Edina versus a Brooklyn Park versus Eden Prairie or Bloomington. You've got different, those cities, they all have a little bit different lifestyles to some extent, so they want to belong in that community, not necessarily in the homes within reach community. You know, they're working hard to be part of the community they live in.
Yeah, so I mean, that's an example where this may not be every organization's goal. Like, this is not like, this is how the ladder you need to climb. It really is picking out what your organization wants to do, what, feedback you get from homeowners.
We've created a homeowner committee, so hopefully we can build on that with our homeowners, going out and reaching out to other homeowners to hopefully get to, you know, the community engagement and advocacy for us, the land trust. So, and Brooke is one of our at-large homeowner committees.
Do you, like, is there a territory beyond which it's maybe not reasonable to think that you're going to create community, or is there a number of owners or members that beyond which you can't, or until that point you're not going to generate it? Like, and I guess, what do you feel is the perspective of the home buyers? Are they, and I'm sure it's across the board, so it's probably a stupid question, but like, do they feel like I'm joining a community through this process and I want to be a part of that community? Or is it just kind of like, whatever?
So, and this is how we kind of just determine who to reach out to when we're sitting with these homeowners. We do a post-purchase meeting with the homeowners. So there's questions like, are you associated with your neighborhood association? Are you interested in maybe being a member? If you are, let me know. Can I reach out to you at any time if there's these opportunities that come up? So that's where we give them the option to choose if they want to be, but we're always going over who are some possibilities that we think, homeowners that we think have potential in sitting at a member, and reach out to them, just talk to them, ask them. Our board or committee members are about 5 homeowners. 3 roughly will show up, but you know what? We're getting things done, and we're discussing some of the tough situations that we have that just comes up with homeowners itself. So it's an ask, it's not a have to. So do you have anything?
Yeah, and Jim can probably speak to that more so when there's only a handful of Water homeowners. Because yeah, like and I've only been, you know, in the position for 2 years. So we throw large events in Duluth. 100 homeowners will show up. I don't do a presentation, just try to welcome everybody at the door. And, you know, it's either rent out the zoo and they get free access to the zoo and they walk around the zoo. And we have a holiday party, which, you know, that's in December, so then we're all indoors in one space. But yeah, that's like 100 homeowners, so yeah, that sense of community. We do have a small development that happened up in Grand Marais, you know, so 2.5, 3 hours north, and that's, is it 11 households? 10? And so that was just developed in 2019, and I did my first homeowner event up there, and it was a very different feel going up there, and it's like, oh, there's only like 10 households. So yeah, like we all sat at like 2 picnic tables, and we're chatting, and they're all neighbors, so all those houses, because it was a development, are already neighbors, and so that was a very different feel community-wise compared to our Duluth events that are 100 people. Yeah, but I think, Jim, you've talked about like picnics in the park in the beginning, and
yeah, in the early days it's an interesting blend because you needed enough, you had enough critical mass to have a community event, which was cool, but it was small enough that you literally like you knew every homeowner because there were 30 of them, let's say, you know, it was like kind of, and they all just bought their homes in the last year or 2, so you've had recent interactions with them all. And then it changes and evolves, and suddenly you go from 30 to 300, and some of them you haven't seen in 20 years because they don't plug with things. But we definitely see the same people over and over again, which makes sense, and so then that's fun because you see their kids growing up, and you can chit-chat about, you know, what's happening, and they remember you for the purchase, and so that it's take on a little bit of a different life, but it's still been beneficial to maintain that connection.
yeah, and I would say it's an opt-in by the homeowner. I'm going to offer, I'm going to send emails, and they get to opt in whether they want to engage or not. And I would say, I mean, it's funny when, like, maybe somebody, I'll talk, because Jim and Ioana do the resales, and sometimes a homeowner that's been a homeowner for a while, I mean, they've worked with Jim and they don't know who I am. And so they'll just call Jim and say, hey, I'm ready to sell. And then I'll find out a little bit later, like, oh, so-and-so's selling. And I'm like, you know, I've never even heard their name. And so that means they're current on their lease fees. They never come to a homeowner event, and they just, you know, have never responded to anything else that I've put out. And it's like, and that's just some of our homeowners that where it's like they don't want a new best friend. They're just glad they're out. So yeah, it's a mixed bag for sure, especially when you get to our size. And I think that's something to think about when you're a smaller size. Yeah, I mean, like, how many homeowner events can you have for, you know, 5 households? And it maybe feels weird, you know, to have too many. So yeah, just really thinking about that. Okay, so here's our basic things for stewardship. So legal agreements, you know, and this is put together by the Grounded Solutions of what these basic building blocks are. but definitely keeping your legal agreements in place. And we use Homekeeper, the software, and that's a, software system that has been put out there in this conference. But we like to, most of my communication is put into that software attached to the homeowner. But our land leases, we don't make ours electronic in-house. We go on the county website where they're recorded, and then we keep the paper copy in the basement. If there's an HOA agreement, party wall agreements, but yeah, just definitely keeping your legal documents. And then there's the policies of, so here's our agreement, here's the policy around it, and then, like why is that policy there? And that explains that. And then you have to know how do you implement the policy. And I would say for the procedure part, I would say we're still, at least for me, doing my position, I don't have a manual that I'm just opening and it's like, okay, here's our policy. Like somebody is not living in their house. I just found out they actually live in California and they're, got a VRBO going for their one-roof house. Okay, here's the policy that says you must occupy, here's my process of what I need to do. We don't have that, even though we've been in existence for, over 25 years. So that would be a goal. Definitely a goal. And then there's things that just come up that we, haven't dealt with, and so therefore haven't put into a procedure of what that looks like. Yeah.
We're the same. We don't have anything in regards to that. For land lease fees, though, we do have to have them fill out a form for online payments and manage their own accounts that way. So therefore, we're not responsible for them changing their amounts or consistently. And people want to go paperless, so that also is helpful. With this Banco service that we use, it's always notifying us if there's no payments that's been made, if the credit card is expired, if the account has been deactivated, or there's NSF in there. That's when it's a red flag for me to reach out to the homeowners. So.
Any questions so far? How are we doing? Okay. So yeah, here's an example. Oh, I used the same example. Haven't been living in their home. So the policy, like explaining the purpose why we have the occupancy requirement in the land lease. And then, yeah, how to prove they're meeting the requirement. We've discussed this in our homeowner committee, and so that's an interesting one of like, how do you prove somebody's living in their house, for that required amount of time. And we do, and here's some examples that I found from a training when I attended a grounded solutions training. Some CLTs across the nation have provided a form that needs to be completed every year, or you need to figure out, like, they maybe need to submit their utility bill, things like that. So you have to, as an organization, decide what your level of monitoring some of those things are. And we do an annual physical mailing in December. It's kind of what we do as the minimum of our occupancy, like if it bounces back or somebody calls us and say, we don't really live there. But most of the time, like for this one, it's either a neighbor calls or the city of Duluth will notify us like, hey, your property, because we're on the title as the owner of the property, your property is listed on Airbnb, it's not licensed, and then I call the homeowner and say, hey, what's going on? But yeah.
Some of our red flags is, of course, those lease fees not being paid. When utility bills are not being paid, at some point, they stopped sending it to the homeowners, they started sending it to our offices. And so that's a way of me just reaching out to our homeowners and just finding out if it's occupied.
Yeah, does anyone have, just for specific examples for my selfish reasons?
We just got one. We require them, and because we moved, they had to give us, change the address on their insurance policies for the additional insured. One of them came back with, where's she at? Texas address for our homeowner. So I kind of call the city and it's like, where are you sending the utility bill? Texas.
Yeah.
So we're writing letters to that homeowner, to both addresses with, we're asking the post office to give us a different address or notify us if their address has changed for this person.
Okay.
So that's, our attorney says, just put that on your letter and they'll let you know if their address changed, so.
Put it right on the top.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
just add it to the envelope.
And insurance is a good,
Yeah.
red flag too, since you're listed as additional insured. When it's a notice that says it's cancellation, we always reach out to the homeowner just to find out why is there a cancellation. Usually, mostly, it's because they just changed their insurance.
Well, this one wasn't canceled, it was just an address change.
And a very similar thing happened to us recently. And our buyer went to Texas. And our owner, and they also got a big fat home equity line of credit from their credit union that missed that it was a land trust property. And when we reached out to them, they told us, oh, our Minnesota home is our vacation home. And that's not how it works. So they ended up selling, and the home equity line provider had to take a very reduced payoff and then is suing them personally.
Well,
Oh. So yeah, here's things to consider when developing your policies. The funder requirements. I don't know much with our funders. That's Jim, who knows all the ins and outs about what our funders require. But definitely knowing what the funder requirements are, your own program values, also thinking through the racial equity and inclusion lens. I know for myself when we've been thinking about policies and procedures, and one thing that we're thinking about at One Roof is for people that are delinquent in their lease fees over a year's worth, do we turn them into collections? We know other community land trusts do that, and so we're considering that. And then I want to be really conscious about like racial equity and inclusion lens of what does that policy look like, looking through that, because different populations have different histories with, credit bureaus, collections agencies. But yeah, really thinking about, me as a white person that functions very well in most of our systems. It's really hard for me to challenge the systems that I function well in that don't, other people do not function well in, but our nation's built on. So thinking about that. And then very practically, what staff capacity do you have for implementing your policies and following the procedures that you put out? And then also thinking about accessibility, the application. Do you have it in different languages, depending on your service area? People visually impaired. So the things that you offered, are they accessible to all populations?
So we have a Project Sustain Legacy program where a lot of our homeowners are seniors who don't use the internet or can't read. So we've taken the initiative to also acknowledge that if there's important information, we will probably drop off the information and let them know and inform them. So there's our way of accessibility and just making sure our homeowners are understanding what our process is too.
So here we get into the topic part of how we can break down the overall topic of stewardship. So you can think of your outreach and education, the data management, the document retention, and the monitoring and enforcement of the land lease. So examples, I wonder if, trying to think what the, yeah, oh yeah, we can do the next slide, but let me see, I want to see if I can pull up the, yeah, this is my website. So something that we decided to do at One Roof is create this. So we go to homeowners. Oh, we can't see it. Oh, well, I'm talking to myself about it. Let me see if we can see it this way. We've tried to do this before, haven't you? Yeah. Oh yeah, it's so funny. It only wants to talk. It only wants to talk about the PowerPoint. Okay. Well, then we'll forget it. But also, so another resource that we have is putting most of this information on our website. So we put our land lease on the website. So if people have misplaced their land lease and they want access to it, it's on our website. The homeowner's insurance. Like, what do you need to know about your homeowner's insurance? What are the requirements? It's on our website. The resale process and the resale formula, if you have questions about that, it's on our website. So, not that we don't want our homeowners to reach out to us, but as a resource, we just try to put any of those stewardship topics on there for them to access. And then, so examples, the next slide is just sharing examples that we do in our specific organizations, and we'd love to hear what other people do. And so outreach and education for One Roof, since Jim or Ioana is the first point of contact for somebody that wants to buy a house. So they are the realtors. My first contact with the homeowner is I send them a welcome gift. And so it's really trying to shift their working with Jim and Ioana over to me as the stewardship associate. I understand in most organizations you won't have two different positions. And so you may not have to do like the real specific, hey, contact me. And I think I put down a handout. It has welcome home on the top. And so this is what I include in my welcome gift. I do a handwritten note in it just to introduce who I am. I send this about a month after they close on their home. So I give them a little card. I write a handwritten note in there, and I include my business card. I've also chosen to put my photo on my business card, just to like more personal, of like, I'm your person. And then other things that are included in it, we do have One Roof notepads. We had these little bookmarks made that's a QR code to the website that has all the resources electronically, which you can also go to, and this homeowner manual's on there.
So is that website a separate website, or is it just in
It's in One Roof. Yep, it's in One Roof. We give them a homeowner manual. We give them 2 gift cards. So we buy a $30 gift card to a home improvement store and a $20 gift card to like a florist home interior, like, ooh, fun thing. And here's a coupon book. I love to insert what not to flush in your sewer. If you were in the equitable taxation and you know that City of Lakes has 15 lake sewer repairs a year, it is incredible how many homeowners, a sewer is what I get called about. And so I put a little post-it on here with a handwritten note that says, sewer repairs are expensive and are your responsibility as a homeowner. Stop flushing baby wipes. Yeah. So I put that in there. I put a property tax reminder, something that's new for homeowners is property taxes and how to include them on their taxes. Some don't know how to do that. Also, there's the low income property tax refund in Minnesota. So I like to include that and to homestead their property taxes. Ice dams, maybe the second call that we get in the winter.
Yeah.
So giving people information about what an ice dam is, what's the maintenance around an ice dam. I also, because I really like native plants and pollinators and stuff, I also give them information about landscaping resources and things like that. And then we have a tool lending library in One Roof, and so I give them a brochure on that because now they get to maintain their own home, and so equipment's expensive. So that is my welcome gift, and I've been sending it in the mail. If I have another reason to meet with the homeowner, you know, I hand it to them, but I started during COVID, and so it's been in the mail for now. Yeah, so, and that's just something new that we've implemented. And then, yeah, Shane does something a little different.
So I do something a little bit different. I actually meet the homeowner at closing and give out my card right away and say, don't talk to Julie anymore. She doesn't exist. Okay? I exist. You call me only. And I will reach out to you to do a post-purchase walkthrough. When we do the post-purchase walkthrough, I'll give them this folder, and it's pretty much almost the same exact thing as Brooks here, but it's more references to just neighborhood home partners, which we always refer them to get capital improvement loans if they're interested, insurance if they want to change, just additional information, our board of directors, because we want them to know about it, welcome, a maintenance checklist, and then our homeowner manual too, and anything else additional that I feel like is useful. But this is what I will be providing our homeowner when we do our walkthrough, and then I have a walkthrough checklist that I do with the homeowner and our property manager does with the homeowner too. And so it's just the exterior and interior walkthrough. Where's the water shut-off valve, all of that kind of good stuff. Anybody have questions about these? I'll pass these around if you guys like.
Yeah, another outreach piece. So at a minimum, I do quarterly emails. Mostly they're going to be about maintenance tips for the season. I think a great idea that I haven't touched on as much is picking out a topic from the land lease and explaining that, you know, just in general rather than if somebody asks something specific or, yeah, you find out they moved to Texas and then you have to reach out and explain what the occupancy requirement is again. But yeah, at a base, I do a quarterly email. What are you trying to do?
So we do, and on your table here, we don't do, we have a calendar that we have already created probably right before the year ends. And it's just about the workshops and trainings that we have for the year. We also do a magnet that we also send out so people can put it on their fridge. But this will talk about our workshops if anybody's interested, so people are aware. And then when I send out, our e-newsletter about once every quarter. So that information involves our workshops. If anybody's interested in signing up, then they can just respond to my email.
Something that we, oh yeah, go ahead.
Do you get a huge response? Are there a lot of homeowners that do the workshops?
It really depends on what type of workshop. So for one, everybody loves the active children interactive events, which we have one big summer one big winter one, and then it's the like hands-on home maintenance workshops that our homeowners really enjoy too. One thing that we just created was a credit repair, which we felt like this year is since people coming out of foreclosure, it's about what are people asking me, calling me about most recently. And so we get, depending, about 3 to 5 homeowners at the most, but it really depends on what people are wanting to learn about. We have 3 workshops for resales because people are constantly selling their home, and people forget about our resale policy, and they get upset when they find out about the 25-75 split. So that's why we have it 3 times a year.
They're all virtual?
Right now, they're all virtual. Yes, they're all virtual. But we are hoping that we get into in-persons again.
And if you haven't, creep around on City of Lakes and One Roof's websites. They're very good. I do a lot of creeping.
Yeah, and on this CLT one, they talk about the homeowner events. So at One Roof, we also do 3 community homeowner events. We have one that we repeat every year, the holiday party at the Duluth Aquarium, that also people can then walk over to Bentleyville, the City of Lights, and do that. And then we just try to come up with different things that people want to be engaged in. We did snow tubing this year. We're doing we have the North Shore Scenic Rail, and we're, paid for 100 tickets, and we're gonna go ride the train and pick pumpkins and then ride the train back. So different community events like that. For our workshops, in Duluth, they just started a folk school, which if you heard of Grand Marais folk school, so they just do hands-on learning. And the one in Duluth, they decided that they wanted to do a How Your House Works 101. They had access to a vacant house that was being remodeled, and so they would take 12 participants at a time, walk through it, and do different topics like plaster repair. And so everybody got to practice plaster repair. One of them is just walking through it and talking about all the systems, how to change your furnace filter, where's your water shut-off valve, things like that. So I don't lead workshops, but this has been just a great partnership that has formed that with my stewardship budget, I pay the price of the ticket for the attendee to go. And granted, it's very limited attendees because there's only 12 allowed in the class, for the whole of the city of Duluth. So that's how we've done some workshops. Some other outreach things. We get volunteer groups, mostly youth groups in the summer that want to, volunteer. And so something that we're able to do for our homeowners is I send an email and I say, hey, we have youth volunteers all summer. They can do very low skilled projects for you that, you need to keep 12 people busy, but in staining decks is a great one for them, painting garages is a great one for them, weeding gardens, if you're not too picky on what it looks like, but things like that. And so, we completed 700 service hours with volunteers this summer for our homeowners. So that's just an outreach piece. Jim shared in the introductions this Eagle Scout project of, so things just kind of come to us. This Eagle Scout wanted to do a project and, works on small motors. And so, refurbished lawnmowers. And I tell you, when I emailed out, it was all of our brand new homeowners that were like, oh my God, I need a lawnmower. This is so great. It's amazing. So, and he delivered them and filled them with gas. And it was super great. And then we have the Playhouse, our local theater. As part of their mission, they do one night, the preview night of any show. They like to reserve all of those tickets, and they like to have a full house for their actors to perform to. And so they contact us and give us free tickets to distribute to our homeowners. And so we typically have 40 to 60 homeowners that go to the theater. So that's something for outreach. And then Yeah, and then just other random education things of like Home Help MN. I've sent more emails out about this program that is mortgage assistance and other housing expense grant relief from the COVID package. And that's what Minnesota's calling theirs, is Home Help MN. So anytime an opportunity like that comes up, that is information that we like to give to our homeowners to educate them.
It's really helpful if you do have a handful of homeowners that you know like need the immediate assistance, give them a call, because that's the only way they can just absorb the information that you are sending via email instead. So the connection and just give them a call and tell them about the resources is really important.
Do others have examples of what they do for outreach or education with their homeowners?
At Habitat, we do gardening classes, we do painting classes, and like replacing your flooring and things like that.
And how do you do those? Like, do you have a restore? And like,
Restore.
And do you bring them into like that space, or like a workshop
Yeah,
space?
we have a whole construction area at our restore that we can use, and our construction team will do the classes that we need to.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we partnered up with Metro Blooms before to do our exterior workshop on landscaping. And maybe we can partner up with you guys, hopefully, maybe, to do some type of, hands-on workshop too. But
Yeah, we're reaching out for some master gardeners
Okay.
in the area to see if they'll come and teach for us.
Well, yeah, we've done that too. There's open streets in Minneapolis. It's 5 community events. All the vendors come just to share all the information. And we get our home committee to volunteer. We send it out to our homeowners to see if they want to volunteer or just show up and say hi to us at the booth. But it's a great event just to get, share awareness about the land trust. So sign yourself up if you guys don't know about the community events that's happening in your neighborhood, and find out what they are.
So data management. I already talked about Homekeeper is probably the tool that we use the most in trying to manage all of our data.
Is that your like in-house? Like,
It's a software.
I mean, I know what it is, but is that like your organizational CMS?
Mm-hmm. And you use Homekeeper?
We use Homekeeper, but we are not where you guys are at right now. So we're still very old school with saving everything on a server. But that's the goal. After today, that's what we're doing, okay? That's what we're doing.
I love Homekeeper.
We use Homekeeper for housing counseling clients.
That's what we use it for.
Would it be easy to transition into using it for, like, how do you utilize it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's pretty comparable. I used it for housing counseling also, and we don't have it yet at Rondo, but if you just Google Homekeeper, they actually have videos, and then they'll set up one-on-ones with you. You can do a lot of stuff. You can put the documents right in there, just like housing counseling.
Right.
It's very, very similar.
Yeah, and I think because our housing counseling just switched to Homekeeper, right, in the last year. And so, in our lending, used to get their application through Homekeeper. And so it will, if anyone actually familiar with it, it will actually create a new file. Like we call our community land trust service file CLT dash the homeowner's name. I think if it's a home buyer, education client, it'll be maybe HBW dash the homeowner's name. So it creates like different files, but it's under the same contact. The contact will be the same, but it'll link to each service file, depending on what line of business in our organization they're doing.
Do you have your application attached to the link?
Yeah, and Jim can speak to that, but yeah, when somebody applies to our CLT program, it's linked to the Homekeeper, and that's what it automatically creates the service file then for them. Yeah, and then that's the service file that I then, once, if they buy a house from that application point, we just keep building in that same service file, and I create, so yeah, part of data management and probably the monitoring and enforcement, where for a particular homeowner in Homekeeper, like if you think about it as like a paper folder, like maybe if, okay, this homeowner needed a new roof, whoop, you know, I put the information like needed a new roof, this date, it cost this much, it's in the paper folder. I do the same thing on Homekeeper, but it has these monitoring events that we have different categories, like maintenance and repair. Did they have a home improvement request? Do they have a tax and parcel issue? Do they have an occupancy, violation? And so then I'm able to create these monitoring events, also with reminders of like, oh, it's been another month, you better check to see if they actually bought their homeowner's insurance, like those kind of things. So yeah, it is definitely where I am able to keep all of my documentations. And if they send me something, like the city of Duluth will send me a violation of like, this person has excessive garbage and they have to get compliant within 30 days, da 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 da. I make a monitoring event, and then I will attach that document to that monitoring event to just keep the running history in there, and so it keeps track of the conversations I've had. I'm also able to send emails from my Outlook, not through Homekeeper, but then I'm able to have a special link that I put in the blind carbon copy, that if I put that in there and then I push send of that email to the homeowner, it will throw it in Homekeeper underneath that monitoring event. So then I also, it puts my email there. I don't have to go into Homekeeper and then say, and I emailed them on this date and it said this. So.
Does it capture responses, replies?
It does not. At least not that I've figured out, no. Yeah, I can also, then I can like save the email as a PDF and attach it if like the reply is something that I need.
Homekeeper is also really good to run reports like homeowners of color, homeowners that closed in 2012. So it's really great for that too. That's all I know how to do with Homekeeper. not as much as what she can do. But we are still entering in our information, our service files in manually. So that's where we are at, if you guys want to just compare and contrast.
Notifications when someone applies.
Yes.
Okay, I can figure out how.
Yes, so whenever we receive an application, they apply on our website, it goes in magically into Homekeeper and creates it, and then we get an email notification that says, so-and-so has applied to your land trust property. So it's all very slick.
So if you,
It has
in
been,
that process, is there like, if they're missing information, does that kind of come out, or do they have to fill everything at the front?
We have certain fields that are required, that are like the bare minimum we need, and then we can build up the file after that with the other things that will come later.
Yeah, so you create a form and you can make fields required, and so they won't even be able to submit it if they don't, fill in those fields. We collect our lease fee payments with form assembly through Homekeeper, and so I get a notification if a lease fee's paid. It is not in true time to when it actually clears, when our finance department actually puts it in the bank. So I always have to wait to like submit this receipt to our homeowners, but if they use our online system to pay their lease fees, it's through Homekeeper. Events, I've started to, everybody here that registered for the event, that was actually through one of those Homekeeper account form assembly. So you put in all your information, it's, boop, Brooke, you had somebody register for the Minnesota CLT conference event, and then, and then all the information's there, and then I'm able to export it as an Excel or things like that. So yeah, for my events, it's been nice to be able to monitor, like, well, how many people are showing up, and dietary needs, if we're serving a meal, and things like that.
We don't, not all of our units are land trusted, but Twin Cities have times as well. And one of the things I really like about it is on a property, like a specific address, I can see who previously owned that, and we have a buyback, and we can sell it for future time. So that is another opportunity to keep properties consistent.
Since we don't have Homekeeper in that extent, we use Constant Contact just to upload just information if nobody has used that before, and then Wix just to get reservations and, you know, get homeowners to do orientation quizzes and stuff like that. So there's an alternative route. So
Yeah.
missing out.
Yeah, document retention, yeah, I mean, we still have the paper files. We use the county recorder website for if people need to, if they want a copy of their signed land lease and I'm not working in the office, then I'm able to go on there and download it and send it to them.
Is that just available for free, or do you have an account?
How do we have that, Jim?
With the paid account, yeah,
Okay.
then we can access all the recorded documents for 100 years back.
Ramsey County used to do it for free for cities and nonprofits, and they don't anymore.
We do it.
They're no longer feeling the love with their cities in Ramsey County.
Yeah, and then monitoring and enforcement of the land lease. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'll go back to the homeowner manual if there's anything very specific. The thing that I probably most interact with, the home maintenance responsibility, that's, I would say, a more proactive on our part. That's in the outreach and education piece that we hopefully are educating our homeowners enough in this manual. And I mean, it's a big manual, right? Exciting read. But it does have a maintenance checklist as well as like the life expectancy of certain things in your home. So, I mean, if somebody wanted to be very proactive, they could be planning out, okay, how long can I expect my roof to last? How long can I expect my furnace to last? Those type of things. But I would say that's a proactive outreach and education for the maintenance. I also think our volunteer services really help with that, and then that's also a great way for me to meet people, interact with them. Yeah, and our homeowners really enjoy that. And then the workshops, like Shane has those hands-on workshops. We're utilizing the folk school to give those maintenance workshops. Homeowners insurance, you know, it's pretty much yeah, like when it's a red flag, if we get a cancellation notice, we reach out, but we do not ask our homeowners to provide us insurance every year. You know, like we don't put a mailing out and they're like, okay, all 300 homeowners provide us your homeowners insurance. It's escrowed, you know, mostly with the mortgages, and so in rare cases, either people paid off their mortgages, and then you can have concerns of, are they keeping their homeowners insurance up? We had one case where I think the homeowners like continuously paid late for a while, and so now the bank will no longer escrow their property taxes and homeowners insurance. And they have to, like, they're on, you know, like a 2-year probation that they can't get escrowed. And so that's just something with the homeowner's insurance. But yeah, land lease fees is probably what is more of the proactive thing, because that's something I see monthly, whether somebody's paying or not paying. Yeah, I would say like maybe in the negative enforcement monitoring context, it's mostly lease fees, and it's probably like 80% of our homeowners are, you know, I know their names because They owe us lease fees.
Yeah, so our finance manager will send us a year or monthly finance report. That's when I look at our lease fees. And I reach out, I send a letter, an action letter notice saying, you haven't paid your lease fees for a little bit. Here's your action, please give me a call. And then I follow up with a phone call. So that's when we can monitor lease fees that way. But it's always a tough, like hit or miss that I get a phone call back from our homeowners too. So.
But you guys have the policy.
Yeah, so we have a policy. If a homeowner goes over $250 in past due lease fees, we send them a letter that we're going to take them to a small collections court. Usually that gives them a red flag. They give us a call or they pay half of it and then get on a payment plan. There's a $75 recording fee that we add to the lease fees that we also tell them about. So if they don't want that to happen, they have to reach out to us.
What do you do if they don't reach out to you?
So there has been situations where we have gone to court and then the homeowner pays it right there in front of the judge. This happened during pandemic, so we did it virtually, but they got on a payment plan. But mostly it is just that we want to see them get on a payment plan. They have to pay their current lease fee and a little bit extra for us to accept this payment plan.
We've got one that I ended up sending the letter per the ground lease. We have to give them 30 days to catch up because they're 3 years behind. And no response whatsoever. I send monthly statements and everything to them, okay? So we sent the letter, have not heard from them. Their 30 days is up. I will be notifying the bank, and the bank has 30 days now.
Okay.
So, you know, the hard part is, no matter who the homeowner is, we're pushing 200 homes, okay? You've got to treat every homeowner the same. I can't not let this one never pay, and everybody else is paying their ground lease fees. And that's the hardest part, having to do it. I've done one before. I don't like doing it, but when somebody absolutely will not respond to me by phone calls, because I give them every phone call, I've knocked on their doors, left my card up at their houses, still no response. Sometimes they tie your hands and they don't give you an option.
Yeah. Eventually, at some point, some of these homeowners also they sell their home, so we collect it at resale. Yeah. And that's the only way that we can get lease fees paid.
Well, that's the direction they're headed, is they're going to end up selling or getting caught up.
Yeah.
I'll just throw out one other fun thing is that this paint company called us and said, we got 100 gallons of deck stain, you know? We're like, well, all right. So now there's all these decks in Duluth with the same red color stain, thanks to Brooke's work and all these youth groups volunteer. So,
Yeah, so, I mean, Habitat maybe gets this a lot, but man, be real, if somebody wants to donate paint to you, be fair and just check out the paint, be really specific. And because, yeah, now we have all these, they're paint bases, you know, and only certain paint bases can take certain tints, and oh my, yeah. And it's a lot of semi-gloss, and it's like, where do you put 300 gallons of semi-gloss, you know? So yeah, we've got some paint. And we have, I bet, like 40 gallons of wiping stain. A very pretty fox brown. But, I mean, wiping stain, like, it takes a long time to use up a gallon of wiping stain. So, anybody?
We had an incident where Stacy took in a lot of donation. I don't know, like cell phones. I think it was like pre-lit logs that you could put in your bonfire. We couldn't get rid of it fast enough. So guess where we took it? To our annual meeting, and we said, "Take it all, people, take it all," and it disappeared. It just disappeared, and that was the only way we got rid of it. So,
I know.
yeah, it's like, it's free. When you say it's free, you will take it.
We're working really hard in Green Bay to make all the connections to the people who can use those things. Maybe not fire service. The cell phones to homeless shelters or to wherever, so we're trading off donations
Yeah.
to try and help with that.
Yeah. So any other examples people are doing for stewardship topics? You want to share?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Is, when you have to terminate a lease, I read that it's through, there was a vague term of the proceedings. Is that proceeding analogous to a foreclosure? Is it quicker, harder?
You know, as far as you know, yes. So, meaning we've never done it, yeah. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the nuclear option, as they say, that we could terminate the lease for them, for their lack of completing the obligations of it. But then that would also trigger then a default of the mortgage, because the mortgage is contingent on them leasing the land. So we've never gone to that extreme to say we are going to essentially rescind your land lease. So what we've mostly, you know, it is all the great work that Brooke is doing, and that then also, as you mentioned, we do the same thing, that if somebody is significantly in arrears, eventually they'll sell their house, and then we collected a resale on their proceeds, you know, so then we can recoup it that way. It's not ideal, we'd rather get it, you know, up front, but we haven't gone to the point of actually terminating somebody's lease.
What we find out is if they're that far behind on their lease, there's something else going on, and the odds are they're not making the mortgage payment also. And that's why we try to be proactive. And by my sending out a letter to the bank gets involved. And sometimes that'll, you know, we've got another one we had to do for different reasons, not for the ground lease, and something else happened, okay? But that's the only way we could get the bank involved. Well, we find out that, you know, they did their forbearance, or they're out of forbearance, they're 3 years behind on their mortgage payment. And they have no job. So what do you have to, at some point, you have to engage the lender, because you want to preserve that house. And I feel bad for the homeowner, but they're going no place. And they're in this case, they were destroying the home on top of it because of what was happening at the home. That was part of the other reason we got proactive on it, because the house was being destroyed. It's tough. It's the worst thing to do is to have to tell somebody you're out. It's the last thing you want to do, but what do? You know, we find homes where we had one homeowner, she moved out to Arizona, didn't tell us she's moving. The neighbors called us, the house was vacant.
So did you terminate the lease?
We got involved with the bank. Fortunately, it was Bremer. We did a really quick turn, and so they didn't wait for the foreclosure and everything. There's ways to make it move really fast, and we got it in somebody else's hands. Our funders, if that house doesn't stay in home ownership, they can actually request our funding back, some of our funders. So it's unfortunate. The funders sometimes find out before we do.
Yeah, and that's that funder requirement piece,
Yep.
like why you do stewardship, because there are some requirements by funders.
There's some really strong requirements, and you want to protect the homeowner, but you also want to protect the property. In the end, you got to protect the property, and that's, to me, I don't like doing it, but I have to. It's the worst part of my job.
You know, a couple things that have changed for the better with lease fee collections is, you know, once the ACH option appeared, you know, 10 years ago, because before it was, for the first 10, 15 years, you write the check and put it in the mail, one roof, you know, so not the best way to get paid. So now we just give them the ACH form at closing. Oh, everybody, you pay through this automatic debit. But even better is, after being told for 15, 18 years, you're not allowed to escrow land lease fees, and they said, oh, actually, no, yeah, you have to escrow the land lease fees. It's like, we've been wanting to escrow forever. So, because then once they're just in with the payment, that the homeowner is like, just one payment they make the bank, they don't even think about it. So, I think for about 5 years, we've been, if we were North Shore, it'll be set up as an escrow, and that's just, there's no question of them paying.
Our banks will.
They won't do it now.
I love that.
Yeah.
But we have on our website an AC, where they can ACH. We look at some of the legality of us pulling their account, the money out of their account. Don't want to deal with it. So we actually have, they can actually go online now. They can call us with a credit card. We've got a machine, but we have where they can actually, and then they get a receipt. Once they pay it, it actually sends them a receipt. So they know they paid their ground lease electronically, or they can set us up as bill pay. We get a lot of checks in the mail. You'd be surprised. First part of the month, I'll fix some of those envelopes, get from some of the banks.
It's also good to put your, what's attention to your homeowner notification on a different color piece of paper. It makes a world of a difference how people respond to that. It does. So, just a note.